Welcome back everyone to LorePlay. As always, I'm Dr. Faust, and today we are going to start our examination of the lore of Dark Souls 3. So, without any further ado, let's get to it.
Yes, indeed. It is called Lothric, where the transitory lands of the Lords of Cinder converge. In venturing north, the pilgrims discover the truth of the old words. The fire fades, and the lords go without thrones. When the link of fire is threatened, the bell tolls, unearthing the old lords of Cinder from their graves. Aldrich, saint of the deep, Farron's undead legion, the Abyss Watchers. And the reclusive lord of the profaned capital. Yon the giant. Only in truth, the lords will abandon their thrones. And the unkindled will rise. Nameless, accursed undead, unfit even to be cinder. And so it is that ash seeketh embers.
Rising from a grave, we awaken in the Cemetery of Ash. We're unkindled, a new variation of undead. A point that I don't think the game makes entirely clear is the fact that unkindled are undead, but not all undead are unkindled. That we are in fact special. Perhaps chosen undead from a previous cycle that actually failed to link the fire. Near a basin that looks suspiciously like the Lord Vessel, we find a dead knight holding the Ashen Estus flask. Undead treasure these dull ashen flasks, fill with Estus at a bonfire and drink to restore focus points. Quite befitting of an unkindled, an Ashen Estus flask turns a bonfire's heat cold. Also worth noting, the knight appears to be Oscar of Astora from Dark Souls 1, invoking one of the themes of Dark Souls 3. taking the familiar and twisting it a bit. Or, in certain cases, as we'll soon come to see, twisting it around a lot. Hostile Grave Wardens mill about the area. They have a chance to draw up fading souls and a cleric's sacred chime. Sacred chime for casting miracles of the gods. Chimes such as these are often given to clerics who become undead. Given their names, it's fair to assume that the Grave Wardens once served as the attendants to the Cemetery of Ash until finally going hollow themselves, though it is a bit odd that undead would be buried in any situation. Before exiting this opening area, we can hang a right and travel through a flooded waterway to encounter a giant crystal lizard. After it's defeated, it drops the Titanite scale. Weapons forged by soul transposition can only be reinforced by Titanite of the same kind. In rare cases, crystal lizards devour souls, growing to monstrous proportions and leaving these great scales. It's interesting because the use of the term transposition means that the weapons are literally being created out of souls, a skill that only Ornifex from Darksouls 2 possessed, as opposed to infusing a normal weapon with a soul, which is how we got boss weapons in Dark Souls 1. Returning to the exit, we travel a short distance and discover our first bonfire and a breathtaking vista, an endless expanse of mountains covered in snow, or perhaps ash. Looking back to the cemetery, we discover it adjacent to a massive castle-like structure, most likely explaining the origin of the Grave Wardens. And from what I can tell, the architecture doesn't match any other area in the game. After defeating a few more Grave Wardens, we make our way into a ruined structure, with a massive coffin ensnared in the roots of a tree. While empty, the coffin bears more than a passing resemblance to the coffin of Grave Lord Nito, one of the four lords of Dark Souls 1. More striking, however, is the figure in the center of the area, a heavily armored man skewered through the heart with a sword, or perhaps a fire iron. After removing it, he revives, and we begin our battle with Iudex Gundyr. It's interesting to note that Iudex is actually a title, meaning judge in Latin, implying that Gundyr serves as a test for newly arisen Unkindled, that sets up an idea that power is valued over everything else in this cycle. After reducing Gundyr to roughly half health, a giant black mass erupts from his back, transforming into a highly aggressive snake-like entity. Everything about the way this creature looks just screams the abyss. Finally, however, we manage to defeat Gundyr and gain the right to proceed forward. This isn't the last time we'll be seeing him, and his reappearance will make for some interesting speculation, but we should look at that item. The Coiled Sword. Sword missing from the Shrine Bonfire. Thrust into the Shrine Bonfire to restore its power and enable travel between bonfires. This sword is only bequeathed to Chosen Ash, as judged by the Iudex, who awaits the arrival of Ash as a scabbard. Other than the redundancy in telling us that we were judged by the judge, we learn that the sword belongs in a shrine bonfire. The more interesting question is why instead was it impaled through a man? Finally, making our way to the source of the bell, we enter Firelink Shrine. But we'll get into that another day. Thank you for joining me today. Next episode, we will get into the NPCs of Firelink Shrine and travel to the first proper area of the game, the High Wall of Lothric. As always, I am Dr. Faust. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.